You're listening to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast for and by Rockies fans on Rocky Mountain Rooftop. Thank you for joining us as we discuss all things baseball and Colorado Rockies.
Hello, everybody. Welcome here to another edition of Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast under the Rocky Mountain Rooftop banner for Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Skyler Timmons, voice tired after days of calling basketball games, joined here by Evan Lang, who is a survivor of pneumonia.
Yes. Many months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But not a fun experience, let me tell you. And that's from like a relatively healthy 30-something. Like, I can't imagine getting it when you're, immunocompromised or anything like that. But yeah, not a lot of fun.
Oh,
and my voice is recovering from nothing. In fact, I barely spoke yesterday. It was pretty great.
Yeah, I had college basketball games on Thursday, and then 4 high school games on Friday, and then 2 more basketball games in college on Saturday.
Do they have hockey down in your neck of the woods? High school or college hockey?
It's like youth club stuff. That's when I was in high school, it's always been club stuff, but down at the local rec center, they've really built up an actual like hockey program that kind of travels around and stuff. And a kid I knew like played hockey there in high school, and then he's playing for a club team up in Utah while he's out at college. So good stuff coming out of there. I wish they had it when I was growing up, but I have glass ankles, Evan, so hockey probably wouldn't have been the best choice for me. I take
glass
one hit
ankle,
and snap
a glass
my ankle.
jaw. I got checked into the boards once and my entire body shattered.
No, everything else would be fine, but my ankles, I'd take one hit and my ankle would probably snap off. It's already threatening to do that all the time anyway, so fun times. So we'll have our nice gruff radio voices.
My voice sounds fine. Does my voice not sound fine?
I hate to tell you. No, we're here to talk about Rockies baseball, Evan, and talking about things that aren't fun and that kind of suck. We're actually not talking about the Rockies. To start off, we're talking about those dang Los Angeles Dodgers, who it would be ignorant for us to ignore them and what they continue to do. But international signing stuff is happening, and the coveted free agent was Roki Sasaki from Japan, 23 years old, a phenom pitcher. And Rockies, had reached out to him at the very beginning of his window, and there's been this long courtship of teams with him across the league. Came down to a final 3, Dodgers, Padres, and Blue Jays. And lo and behold, Evan, you'll never guess who he ended up choosing.
Yeah, I want to give a huge shout out to Roki Sasaki and his agent for the colossal waste of everybody's time over the last several months. Because what did we all say when he was first posted? We knew he was going to go to the Dodgers. And then they put us through this whole, song and dance freaking pony show or whatever you call it. And he's narrowed it down to this team. And then like by the end of the day on Thursday, they were like, Roki Sasaki's camp has informed like basically every team that they're out, and it was down to the Blue Jays and the Dodgers. And I'm sorry, we all knew he wasn't going to the Blue Jays.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was ever even a chance that he was going to any of these teams. I think, he probably heard him out, but at the end of the day, he was going to go to where Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto were playing, the team that gives him the best opportunity to win and put his name on the map, and ultimately taking less money to do so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the Dodgers, one of the lower international signing pool bonuses available to them, and hey, it was like a $6.8 million signing bonus on a minor league contract, the international minor league contract thing. So you think about that payroll, that Yamamoto's the one who's making the most money technically this season is Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and the other two, that signing bonus is more than what Shohei Ohtani is technically getting paid in 2025.
Yeah, it's It's ridiculous. And, if I am being, bitter about it, and if I'm going to be conspiratorial about it, I do legitimately think that there was never really any shot of any of these other teams getting him. I don't think there was any wrongdoing on the part of, either party. Like I've seen some people, you know, lay out these accusations of, and apparently some organizations in the league are potentially accusing the Dodgers of. I do think he went everywhere and, listened to their pitches, but I think it was always going to be the Dodgers, and someone would have had to absolutely blow his socks off, and I don't think anyone would have been able to do it. I think if you want my honest take, it's that, what this whole thing did is it kept his name and his brand relevant throughout the entire cycle.
Mm-hmm. Well, then the Dodgers, they had, I think Yoshinobu Yamamoto was reaching out, and like played his part to bring him over. So the Dodgers, they have the players basically in their PR team. They have the money. They have all the resources to be able to court these kind of players. And then relatively, they have the success and the reputation now. Once they're interested, it's pretty hard for any other team to break through now, unless the guy either really hates the Dodgers, doesn't like California, or just wants to go play somewhere else for other reasons.
Yeah, and like, I get it. I do. The Dodgers have a winning pedigree. They've shown that they are willing to spend lots and lots of money to try and win, and give you lots and lots of money and potential, bonuses for being part of that quote unquote winning culture. But at the same time, none of the other teams really stood a chance, especially like we don't know if the Rockies even got an actual meeting with Sasaki's camp.
Probably not.
But we know now that one of the questions, the homework that was being given to organizations trying to court Sasaki, was figure out why my fastball velocity dipped last season and how you would fix it. And you think that's a question that the Rockies are prepared to answer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awkward meeting at the table. And we joked about this in our Purple Rose Slack. Like, we thought you would tell us.
Yeah. Or, I'm sorry, Mr. Sasaki, we don't speak Japanese.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an inevitable thing that we all figured, that he's going to go to the Dodgers, and makes them even more of a powerhouse team who continues. It didn't even stop there. They're like, it's just another drop in the bucket. Like, oh, we got Sasaki, sweet. Hey, Tanner Scott, you want a big contract and you want to be join our super bullpen? So it just doesn't stop, and you can give props to the Dodgers. They do everything right. They have the resources, they have the money, they have the market, they have the people in charge to take care of things. They're firing on all cylinders, and it makes you wish that Frank McCourt had not had marital issues that that really hurt that team. Because I've talked about this before. Evan, remember when I was telling you about, I watched that random 2011 Rockies game and they were playing the Dodgers. And there's Don Mattingly, and George Fraser says, yeah, Mattingly before the game was talking about how the Dodgers weren't able to, because of their financial situations and issues, they weren't able to add free agents and players the way they wanted to. So they had to give a look to the younger guys this year. And I sat there thinking, man, I miss those days when the Dodgers are fighting for third or fourth in the division. Instead, it's everybody looking up as they are the powerhouse.
Yeah, and so, you look at Jason Stark from The Athletic, and he's like, according to The Athletic's big board, the Dodgers have now signed the number one reliever on the market with Tanner Scott, the number 2 starter on the board and top international free agent Roki Sasaki, the number 3 outfielder in Teoscar Hernandez, and the number 4 starter on the board with Blake Snell. And then they've also re-signed Blake Treinen and brought in Michael Conforto. They brought in the top Korean free agent in Hyesung Kim. It's like no other team can really compete with that. And yeah, like some of the big powerhouse money teams, your Mets, your Yankees, probably could, but at this point they don't have the same reputation as the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And then you look at the deferred money, and the amount of money that they are putting into this, and yes, a huge chunk of it is from Shohei Ohtani, but the Dodgers are deferring approximately $1.24 billion, billion with a B, for their current payroll right now. And everyone says, oh, well, every team can do what the Dodgers are doing. And the honest to God truth that is, no, they can't. Now, yes, every team could defer a little bit of money. You know, the Diamondbacks are deferring a little bit of money when it comes to Corbin Burns, who they brought in, and other teams do defer money. Like, it's more uncommon, but you can do it. But not every team is going to have this many players signing these many big contracts and deferring that much money all at once. Again, it's $1.24 billion. That's like the combined payrolls of like 6 or 7 or 8 different MLB teams. And you also have to look at the fact that the Dodgers have the highest paying TV revenue. And I'm pretty sure all of Major League Baseball, where they bring in approximately $350 million per season from TV revenue from their sports network. You can't really compete with that. When your TV revenue in one season is as big as your actual payroll for the season, how do you compete with that?
Well, then, and adding these stars, they get a whole nother country of fans to follow these 3 teams. They're buying merchandise, they're traveling maybe to Los Angeles to come to games.
The dedicated Japanese PR team that follows around now the 3 Japanese superstars on the Dodgers.
So there's a lot of those things where, and how many teams are owned by big Hollywood, California people? A group that has Magic Johnson in it. There's Hollywood executives in that ownership group, other things, tennis stars. So there's a lot of things with the Dodgers. It's not as simple as any team could do this, because I think if they could, teams would. But so financially, like you're saying, a lot of teams can't do that. Because these billionaires, they aren't worth that much, and they're not pouring the entirety of their fortune into this baseball team.
Yeah. And look at even the Juan Soto contract. So Juan Soto signs a record-breaking deal. I don't think any of it is deferred.
No, there's just opt-outs in there.
So he signed for more money than Shohei Ohtani, but none of that money is deferred into the future. It's all got to be paid up front with, the opt-outs in place and such. So, like, not even the Mets, who are one of the other richest teams in baseball, are doing the same thing that the Dodgers are. And I don't think it's for the lack of being able to do it, but I think there's just no other team right now that's going to be able to lure in all these top talent. Because here's the thing, almost all of these players are turning down larger amounts of money to go play with the Dodgers because they think they're going to be able to win championships, which I get it. But then the Dodgers can also turn around and defer all of this money that other teams just can't. And you think the Rockies, who made I think 50 million tops from TV revenue after
Several years
RSN
ago
shut down, like, they made very little, and now they have no RSN. All of their games are broadcast by MLB. They're making a pittance when it comes to their TV revenue. Like, the austerity measures are here for the Rockies. They can't defer because there's no guarantee that, 1, they're going to be that rich for that long, but 2, it's a completely different situation.
Yeah.
Like, we could have offered Roki Sasaki the max amount of international money, which I think is like $10 million, and he would not have signed here.
Yeah. And so, like we're saying, you can't expect other teams to compete financially with the way the Dodgers can. Now, can you try to emulate and copy the way the Dodgers operate philosophy-wise and whatnot? Absolutely. And more teams should. And we'll probably get into this. We'll probably take a break here pretty soon, Evan, to carry on this conversation. We'll finish up on this one, though. So more teams could follow the Dodgers' philosophy, but that's the area where you can ask, well, why not? Look at what the Dodgers are doing and then try to emulate that. Try to poach people from their team. Like, what is going on over there? That's the magic stuff where anybody who goes there, it feels like, are getting better. They improve. They could ace that assignment from Roki Sasaki of, why did my velocity dip and how can I get better?
Yeah.
Well,
And there
thought
is a
about it.
definite thing. It's like, I loathe the Dodgers, despise them, hate them so much. But I also recognize that they do pretty much every aspect of baseball correctly. They have top-notch scouting, top-notch drafting, top-notch international signings. They bring all the free agents. They know how to win. They're great with analytics. They do every part of the baseball pie perfectly. And that sure sucks for teams like the Rockies who don't do, and it's going to sound mean, who don't do any of that perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a big ask. It is a big step up to try and emulate all of that. When how can you copy a team that does everything right when you are at the point where you can't do anything right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of why we all hate the Dodgers so much, is because, yeah, like so many Dodgers fans like, oh, they're just jealous and whoa, we don't even think about you at all. It's like, we know that. We are jealous.
I just want to punch you in your perfect teeth. That's what I want to do.
That beautiful jawline and amazing, perfectly coiffed hair.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is then it's just that rich kid you see who's perfect and successful in everything he does, and then you just look in the mirror and you're a little gremlin boy who's looking around and ugh.
The Dodgers are handsome. The Dodgers are handsome Squidward,
and
we
Patrick.
are SpongeBob.
I'd put us as Patrick.
I was trying to be a little bit nicer, but
but yeah, you can respect him, like, man, but it gets frustrating because then you also wonder of just more repercussions of the Dodgers being able to do these things in the financial stuff side of the game, of just this competitive balance that is skewing more and more towards just the big rich teams who can always, every offseason, really, who are the main teams in the market for the top names on the market. You know, it's the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets. And that's when a signing like Corbin Burns goes to the Arizona Diamondbacks, we're all taken back like, what the heck? Like, how did that happen? Oh, what's this? He went to the Diamondbacks and said he wanted to be a Diamondback? So just because so he could stay closer to home with his family? And so it's surprising when we see that. And he turned down bigger deals elsewhere, probably one of them from Los Angeles. And so that's when we're taken back because we're so used to players are just going to go after the big money deal and where they can go win a championship. And more today's where winning is emphasized so much for players. They want to get those rings and etch their name in history. Dodgers, pretty attractive place. And so it's hard to compete with that, to build a culture around that of what teams want to come play for us. And the Dodgers are doing that. Plus, like Buster Olner said, they have that Jackie Robinson history.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I've really had enough of, is folks like Jeff Passan and other baseball columnists and beat reporters going, well, here's why this is actually great for baseball and great for everyone else. And it's like, shut up.
It's great for those owners who will get more money in their pocket. It's not helping me at all.
Yeah. And it's like, and you look at the free agent tracker, you look at all the other moves, and so many other players are signing 1-year deals. And those who are not signing with the Dodgers are either signing 1-year deals or they're not even signed yet. Like, you've got top free agents like Alex Bregman and Pete Alonso who are not signed yet.
That's also because they're looking for too much money.
That's true. But at the same time, you just look through and every other move is like, all right, 1-year contract, 1-year contract, 2-year contract, 1-year contract. It's just, it is really exclusively the Dodgers right now making all these big moves. The Mets made one really big move with Juan Soto, and they've got a couple other multi-year contracts. I think they signed Sean Manaea to a multi-year deal, and I think a couple other pitchers. But at the end of the day, it's the free agent market right now has been the Dodgers and then everyone else lumped together as a whole.
Yeah. Here's random trade, and here's a short-term deal, and here's minor league signings, all that kind of stuff. So, but nothing you're like, oh, that's nice. But like for a lot of these teams, the Dodgers have done like 2, 3, 4 big deals that would be some team's entire offseason highlights. Like just one of those guys. And the Dodgers just, it's a random Thursday. We'll go get the top international prospect.
Yeah. And like only 2 other teams, I think, right now, maybe it depends on what you count for Corbin Burns, because it has the opt-outs, have very long-term big deals right now. And that's, I think, didn't Max Fried sign with the Yankees?
Yeah, he signed a big
on an
one.
8-year deal. Corbin Burns on a 6-year deal with the Diamondbacks, and then with the Mets, you've got Juan Soto.
Willie Adames with the Giants. But yeah, it's the sparsity, and I don't know if it's teams are just a little more clutching their coin purses a little closer. It's offseason just because of like maybe the money with the TV deals and stuff. I think that's thrown a wrench in a lot of people's plans. And so they're worrying about this with the RSN models, and then the Dodgers sitting pretty like, well, since everybody else is struggling, we'll go out and get everything.
Yeah, capitalize.
We'll just keep adding on to the pile when we don't even need them.
The Dodgers are the dragon of Major League Baseball. They just hoard and hoard and hoard the wealth.
Can we get Josh Fogg out of retirement?
What's he up to these days?
I don't know, but how fast do you think he'd throw these days?
Probably not that fast.
Faster or slower than 50-year-old Jamie Moyer?
I would like to see, and that might be something fun to theorize about, is let's get a bunch of old Rockies pitchers, not like crazy old, but like, the guys in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, retired guys, and say, we will give you a full set of pregame warm-ups and warm-up pitches, and let's see how fast you can throw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of them give them a little bit of time. They'll still whip it in there a good bit.
Yeah, get Cookie out there and see what he can do.
See if he can still hit that 92-mile-an-hour sinker.
And burn your eyebrows off speed. Or I guess with sinker, burn your leg hairs off.
Yeah, but just to round things out here, yeah, it's just disappointing as like a general baseball fan to just see the Dodgers continue to just hoard all the top players. Like you hate to see, because they get good players, and you're like, they're players you want to root for, but then it's the Dodgers and you don't want to root for them. So you get conflicted, and it's just they keep stockpiling, and it's monopolizing the stardom in baseball. Or when you think of the big stars of the game, you think of the Dodgers. Whereas like, no, I just want to think about Mookie Betts. I want to think about Freddie Freeman and see what they're up to. But, oh well. 'Tis the nature of the game, and it's what we'll have to deal with here going forward. But when we come back, we'll build upon this with talking about going back to our main topic of discussion, the Colorado Rockies. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on Affected by Altitude. Welcome back here to Affected by Altitude, and Skyler Timmons, Evan Lang here with you. And Evan, weirdly, we can understand that the Dodgers signed Roki Sasaki and Tanner Scott truly in response to the big moves the Rockies made as they try to emulate by signing, let's see here, Keston Hiura and Nick Martini to minor league deals, striking fear into the heart of their enemies.
That's exactly right. I mean, they had no choice but to make a counter move when the Rockies are making such powerhouse moves as signing Keston Hiura and Nick Martini.
Mm-hmm. But this goes into where we talk about what the Dodgers are doing everything right. And you alluded to it before, the Rockies just struggling across the board to do most things right. You've done extensive work back into the draft history. I think you're doing international stuff here as well. And a rough go of it for the Rockies in their history of just compiling themselves as a team where they claim, Evan, to be a draft and develop team, because that's how they're going to be competitive and keep pace with the likes of the Dodgers, those big money teams who are doing those things much better than the Rockies. But that's how they're going to stick with them, Evan, and be competitive, and that's how they have to do it. Has it worked out for them?
No.
Oh.
And here's the thing, is that it's hard to be a draft and develop team. Even let's throw out of the window right now the fact that Rockies have been bad at drafting and developing. But how are you supposed to be a good draft and develop team when there's really no clear communication or projection of just what the hell it is the Rockies are actually doing? Like, a bunch of these moves don't make any sense. Like, signing Keston Hiura to a minor league deal, even if it's just a depth signing, makes no sense because we are so jam-packed, and they just keep picking up these veteran middle infielders. Because now you've got what's his name? The guy from the
Al
Brewers
Farmer and Tyro Estrada.
The guy from the Brewers that we traded for, whose name is
Owen Miller.
Me. Thank you. And now Keston Hiura. And then on the team already, we had Aaron Schunk and Greg Jones. And they just keep picking up more and more of these guys at a position that they don't really need more for, especially when they keep saying, I'm having Brendan Rodgers flashbacks of like, oh, the second baseman of the future, and we're just waiting to turn the reins over to him. But there's a clear hesitance to actually do so.
Yeah. They saw what Amador did in 14 games, and it's got them kind of pulling at their collar like, oh, I don't know.
And they did the same thing with Drew Romo, where they let Drew Romo play for like 2 weeks and then went, oh, I don't know about this, fellas. It's like, yeah, what are you doing? And then Nick Martini is giving me some real Jake Cave vibes right now.
He's giving me more Bradley Zimmer vibes.
I didn't either
one.
It's bad vibes.
Yeah.
Because going into this offseason, what's the one thing we had? So, well, outfield's pretty much set. Don't really need any more depth. Don't really need anybody on the big league squad. And I still think that's true. We really don't. Like, we know basically what the opening day outfield is. We know who the depth at outfield is, and we know who the minor league guys in outfield are. So why is Nick Martini here?
Yeah, and I think this speaks to a larger thing, Evan, where we've grown to assume when we see these minor league signings or these minor moves, we assume they're going to be on the big league roster. Like, we've come to expect that. So then when we say, why are we getting Keston Hiura? We already have all these other guys. It's because we've been trained to expect he's going to be on the roster.
Exactly.
Which, it's perfectly fine to have them as like the minor league stuff. You need guys who can step in if you don't feel a prospect is ready. But we've been trained and come to expect the Rockies are sign these guys.
Me once.
Yeah, they sign them with the intent of Keston Hiura is going to be on our big league roster at some point this season. And so that's a bigger detriment to the way the Rockies run themselves. And like you're saying, what is the Rockies' plan? What is their purpose as a team? And this is something this was the question I asked you before is, what are the Rockies trying to build for or going towards? Is it to win the division? Is that their goal? Is it to get the third wild card spot? What is it they're trying to build to? What is their purpose?
And they'll never tell you. That's the problem. They will never, ever tell you. They always say it's always the vagaries of, well, we're going to be competitive.
We want to play meaningful games of September. What does that mean?
It means nothing. Because you know what you should be aiming for is playing meaningful games in October. Like, if you say, we want to make the playoffs, we know we can't beat the Dodgers, but we can build up to being a wild card team. Okay. That's a goal. That is a goal. Because I would get it if the Rockies said, you know what, right now, we know we can't compete with the Dodgers. Because that is a fair and honest assessment of the matter. We can't.
Yeah.
But you can go, but you know what? We think with how the rest of the National League is, the second or third wild card spot could be up for grabs. And that's what we're going to aim for. But it's always just the vague, well, we plan to be competitive. Oh, we think we can play over 500 baseball. Well,
and that's the thing of like, what if you go to Rockies Fest this weekend, and Bud Black or Bill Schmidt are on one of the panels or whatever, they get asked a question of, what is your goals for the season? They say, we want to win 70 games. That is the goal we want to get to with this group. We want to win 70 games. How would you react to that as a fan?
It depends.
Yeah,
Me
and
personally,
knowing how we are as a team, where we are right now as an organization, if they came out and gave you like, we want to this year we're building some things, which we know that's what they are, kind of purposeful thing, but they can't say our goal is to win 70 games this year.
I would probably ask for some caveats, or looking for like, okay, then let's lay out some individual goals for specific players or specific groups on the team. Okay, then. So 70 games, you know that you're not going to be playing over 500 ball. I get it. Admit that it's a rebuilding year. Fine. But then go, okay, well, we want to get this many games out of our rotation, and we want to see this many games out of this rookie, and all that stuff, and give me something to work with that. And I'd be like, okay, it's not ideal, but that's a plan. It's a purpose to have going into the season. That's not your vagaries that we almost always get of, well, we're going to be competitive. Because here's the thing, I think you and I both know they're not going to be competitive this year. The Rockies are probably going to be pretty bad again. But I think you could at least come into the season going, our goal is to not lose 100 games. Our goal is to try and win this many games. And these specific players, we want to see these specific things out of. And I'd be like, okay, that's a plan. That is a blueprint for a season.
How familiar do you think Dick Monfort is with a vision board?
I'm sure he has them. I guarantee you there are vision boards at Rockies headquarters.
Hopefully. Yeah, hope so. Yeah, but that would be, I think that's where we would like to see it, just like some purpose and direction, or at least to hear about it. Because right now they say one thing, but then they make are opposite thing. And this second base, I think, in middle infielders is the perfect example of this. Of, okay, Ariel Amador, we're priming him. He's going to be our second baseman of the future. That's who we believe in. But he's not ready yet, so we're going to throw in Tyro. We're going to sign Kyle Farmer. Oh, we're also going to get Tyro Estrada because Kyle Farmer is just going to be a utility guy. Oh, we're going to add some depth behind Tyro Estrada and get Keston Hira, a pretty much former top prospect who really hasn't flourished at all. So
if I'm some of the middle infielders on this team or in AAA, I'm not feeling great about my future with this organization.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel right now for, guys like Aaron Schunk, who I think established that he could, potentially be a pretty consistent big league player last season, who's now had 3 other middle infielders shoved in front of him on the depth chart.
Mm-hmm. And we'll hear the Rockies probably come out and say, like, this is all about like building competition and spring training and whatnot, because they love doing that. In which, like, it never hurts to invite guys to spring training who then never pan out. Again, Bradley Zimmer, we mentioned last year, who then not working out, even though he had a good spring training. And we're like, oh, he's going to be on the roster. But then Sam Hilliard gets acquired, and then Jake Cave comes over, and then Zimmer's like, all right, I'm going to head out, and then disappears. And lo and behold, Evan, I don't think he played with anybody last year.
He did not.
But so it's all part of the spring training thing. If you sign these guys and invite them, and then they'll probably trigger their opt-out and become a free agent again by the end of spring training. But even then, like, they just feel like extra random cannon fodder to throw down in AAA to play there and just fill the roster because you have to.
I am legitimately shocked that we haven't re-signed Ty Block yet, if I'm being perfectly honest, because that feels like an inevitability. But in general, like, what is something that I always say is I almost always say there is no such thing as a bad minor league deal. But the problem is the Rockies test that, because when they sign a minor league guy, you always have to be worried that they're either going to break camp on the opening day roster, or we are going to see way too much of them throughout the season for any variety of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
It's Harold Castro. Harold Castro, when we brought him in, I was like, and you can check back to when we did that, and it's like, I like that minor league signing. No such thing as a minor league deal. And then he made the team, and then he played a lot, and then he made it through the entire season.
Mm-hmm. It's been rough. And so that's where it just gets so confusing with what they do. They just feel directionless. They get these stopgap pieces, and it's continual kick the can down the road and hope they luck into the playoffs again.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before. They hope everybody has a career year all at once. Instead of you're wasting valuable time with this young core, put Amador, put Ritter there at second base, and just let them figure it out for the season.
Or at least give them an honest to God chance to earn the spot in spring training.
Yeah.
Like, let Adele Amador come into spring training and go, all right, kid, earn it. And if he earns it, then great. And if not, okay. Because, like, some of these moves on their head in a vacuum are fine. Like, if you legitimately believe that Adele Amador is not ready, bringing in Tyler Estrada on a cheap 1-year deal to let him rebound, and you have a potentially very solid contributor that you could even flip at the deadline in Tyro, cool. But then you bring in all these other guys, and now it doesn't make sense anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same with, like, in a vacuum, bringing back Jacob Stallings is great because you need a veteran catcher. But then if you're going to let Drew Romo languish in AAA to start the season, then I don't like that move as much.
Mm-hmm. And because Hunter Goodman, I'm sorry, he's not the catcher of the future.
I think
he just isn't.
I think he can be a catcher in the future, but not the catcher of the future. Honestly, I think Hunter Goodman can prove this year that he can be a big league catcher because we've seen flashes of it where he's called some perfectly fine games. Sometimes his defense has been perfectly cromulent behind the dish. And if he can be that kind of home run hitter, cool. That is a big league catcher right there. But when you compare that to all of the eggs you put in the Drew Romo basket, only to seemingly abandon that at the end of the season,
mm-hmm.
That's a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I would be, if we went into this season and our catching tandem was Hunter Goodman and Drew Romo, I would be totally fine with that.
It's currently what it is in my out of the park baseball franchise mode, where Drew Romo, after I gave him full starting duties in 2026, because I was using him as a platoon in 2025, but I give it to him fully in 2026. He becomes a 5-star overall because he just hits near 300, puts up like 15, 20 homers. Elite catcher that I signed to a big extension because it worked out. And Goodman is a perfectly good backup to him.
Like, there is, going into this season, a really obvious 26-man roster that we can't rely on the Rockies to actually pursue. Like, that starting lineup should be catching tandem, Drew Romo, Hunter Goodman, or Drew Romo and Jacob Stallings, and Hunter Goodman is DH and occasionally flips in at catcher. First base, starting first baseman Michael Toglia. Second base, you should be letting Adele Amador or Ryan Ritter compete for that in camp, and if neither of them make it, it's Tyro. Cool. Shortstop, Ezekiel Tovar. Third base, Ryan McMahon. Great. Your outfield, you've got Nolan Jones, Brenton Doyle, Jordan Beck. Cool. You're done. But instead, they keep muddying the waters by, like, pulling in all these guys, and it's like, Nick Martini seems like a perfectly nice guy, but you don't need to give a 34-year-old journeyman outfielder a camp invite. Not when we have so many outfielders.
Yeah. You can always invite him, but it's like just the intention of he's just going to be a backup in case of injury, which you always need it. You absolutely always need it. But it's like you're saying, it's just points to that one, just a hesitance to commit fully to what the Rockies need to do. And that's what most of these moves, and contrast them with the Dodgers, who Dodgers see a weakness in their lineup. Do they wait, Evan?
Nope.
Because guess who Gavin Lux plays for now?
Where did he end up? White Sox?
The Cincinnati Reds.
Oh, geez. Oh, yeah, that's right, because they traded him to the Reds after the Reds traded Jonathan India to the Royals.
And it was immediately after they signed Hai-Seong Kim. They said, all right, Gavin Lux, bye-bye. And they send him away. They do not hesitate if they find something better. And so that would be the thing too, Evan. It's the Rockies always try to have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
They'll hold on to an Adiel Amador and let Tyro Estrada play second base and then hold on to him and just let a guy continue to kind of flounder or wait there in the minors.
Yeah, there's a real, I don't know how else to put it. It's a lack of a commitment and at the same time an overcommitment, because they won't commit to the prospects, but they won't let them go.
Yeah. Because they're scared they'll go be successful somewhere else. It's a very toxic relationship.
It's not great.
Rockies are a red flag, girl. You need to leave them.
Fix yourself.
Fix yourself and then treat yourself. But yeah, so that's all we ask for is just a little more direction and purpose to what the Rockies are doing, because there's talent and there's talent on the way. We agree that in the minor leagues, there's talent, but they have to commit to them. Give them a chance. And then if those guys aren't working out, then put in the resource to bring in the good talent if you can, which is going to be hard to do.
Yeah. Because what does, and I know we've got to go to breaks. This is the last question. I'll pause it. If Keston Hiura is on this big league team coming out of spring training, what does he bring to the table?
Well, bad defense. He's not a good second baseman, so that's why he's really moved to first base over the last couple of years. So a backup, power potential, Evan. That's the main thing. Dude's got pop. A lot of pop. But he has the same problem most everybody else on the Rockies does. Strikes out way too much. So he brings to the table Michael Toglia, but with worse defense.
So the follow-up question, what does Keston Hiura do to help this team win in 2025?
Absolutely nothing.
Follow-up to that,
if
the goal is not to win, what does Keston Hiura bring to help this team develop and rebuild?
He allows younger guys to develop in the minors.
I would use the word languish.
No, develop, Evan. Develop.
Developers.
But yeah, so a lot of frustrating questions, as always, with the Rockies. But hey, they've done more than the San Diego Padres, so moves. But even then, not really moving the needle much. And so we'll see. Spring training's month away. Fun stuff. Really, really, really quick, Evan. No, never mind. We'll take the break here real quick. We'll come back with that. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on Affected by Altitude for our final segment, another player projection, this time of Ryan McMahon. Welcome back here to Affected by Altitude. Really quick, Evan. International signing class. Rockies have been picking up their international signing. Anybody stick out to you?
It's always tough to evaluate the international talent this early on because they are all like 16 and 17.
Well, you telling me you can't project a 16-year-old's future?
The two most interesting guys to me are Larry Suero, who it's also been reported in some places as Larry Suarez, a third baseman out of the Dominican Republic. He's the only guy the Rockies signed that is in the top 50 for international prospects per MLB Pipeline. And then a guy who reminds me a lot of Yanquiel Fernandez in terms of just being gigantic and powerful at his young age is his name is Wandy Feliz out of the Dominican Republic. He's an outfielder. He is 6'3" and weighs 200 pounds and has a lot of pop, but also strikes out a lot. Really needs to rein in his approach.
Well, that's like what I saw the Rockies go after is they emphasize power guys. They emphasize power, which honestly, it's not working out for them right now either.
Yeah.
Either way they go, it doesn't help them.
It's also a lot of outfielders and middle infielders in this class, like 4 shortstops, 4 outfielders, and then some pitchers. It's a mix of folks between mostly Venezuela and the Dominican Republic, and then we have like one guy from Cuba and one guy from Curacao. I am going to have a lot more of an in-depth report on them hopefully later this week over on Purple Row with a Pebble report on our international draft class, but all I'll say right now is that the Rockies really need to be starting to bear more fruit from their international draft classes, because they really haven't been.
Yeah, it's such a shotgun blast in the international signing. You sign a bunch of these guys, and you got to start hitting on at least a couple of them. Like, you need more Tovars.
Yeah, because the problem is the Rockies really haven't been hitting on them.
Yeah.
When you look at their international draft classes, they haven't had a guy put up positive WAR, Fangraphs wins above replacement, with the Rockies since their 2011 draft class, other than Ezequiel Tovar. The last guy before Ezequiel Tovar to put up positive WAR is Antonio Senzatela of the 2011 class.
And even then, he's kind of average.
He's fine, but he's not like a hit. They've got really one major hit. Honestly, they've got really one major hit of a guy who's got real stardom potential in the last 15 plus years, like going all the way back to 2010. I guess it'll be a little bit of a spoiler for my article on Purple Row tomorrow because I'm writing about this, but since 2010, the Rockies have had 12 of their international free agents make it to the majors. And of those 12, only 9 have made it to the Rockies, have made it to the majors as a Rocky. And the only guys to put up positive WAR with the Rockies are Jonathan Daza, 0.1, Raimel Tapia, 0.8, Carlos Estevez, 2.1, Antonio Senzatela, 8.9, and Ezequiel Tovar at 5.2. In the last 10 years, so from 2010 to 2024, that's a total cumulative WAR for the Rockies of 16.3. In the last 10 years, 2015 to 2024, 4.5. That's not very good, Skyler.
No, not at all. So,
and this is an international and especially Latin American program that the Rockies brag about.
Yeah, a lot of things they got to work on, but we'll see. We'll keep an eye on them as the year goes by. Most of these guys will be down in DSL and all that good stuff. So,
oh yeah,
and fun for them.
It's incredibly possible that almost none of these guys even make it out of the DSL. In my research on this project, the bulk of these players never make it past A-level ball.
Yeah, that's like we're saying, shotgun blast, and then you just hope you hit on a couple.
But you got to hit on at least a couple versus one in the last 10 years.
Yeah, you need more like a Robert Callas who's on his way. But fun stuff. But yeah, that's international signing stuff. Go check out Evan's things over on Purple Row here in this coming week that you're hearing this episode. Moving along here, though, we'll continue our projections project here, Evan. Next guy on the list, we'll go over to third base. We presume he'll bat like third in the lineup. I guess that's how we're going. Ryan McMahon over at the hot corner. And the third baseman will be entering, he's 30 years old, so entering his age 30 season. Evan, still in the midst of his contract. Guess he will be a free agent in 2028. So still a couple years left here with Ryan McMahon. He did have conditional opt-out after this coming season, but I don't think he's getting that because he didn't get top 5 MVP votes. So he will be a Rocky
MVP vote.
Yeah, he will be with the Rockies through these next 2 seasons because there were conditional opt-outs after 25 and 26. I don't think those will trigger at all.
And I don't see the Rockies trading him. Which
unfortunately
could potentially be a problem. I love Ryan McMahon. I think we both do. But if the Rockies were serious about a rebuild, they probably would have traded him already.
Yeah, or at least try to build up around him more, realize he's never going to be the superstar they thought he was going to be. But anyway, here going into the projections, that's what we'll talk about. So Evan, after his 2024, where he played in 153 games, put up 20 homers, had a 242 average, 325 on base, and 397 slugging. That is the lowest slugging in a really a whole full season of his career, Evan. I guess we can count 2018, but he only played 91 games. Oh, that's still a full season. So his second lowest in his big league career in a full good bit of playing time. But projected over with some Fangraph things, projecting about 147 games. That would be the lowest since 2019, Evan, when he played 141. 21 home runs, 73 ribbies, a 240 average, 322 on base, 407 slugging, with a 315 WOBA, marking him as a 1.9 F WAR, or pardon me, 1.8 F WAR, and let's see, 407 slugging, 28.7% strikeout rate, and a 10.5 WAR. So pretty much they have him in line with his career numbers.
Yes.
Per season.
I think it says a lot for the steamer and basic projections over on Fangraphs of how little a change they are really projecting for him. I think it shows what a known quantity Ryan McMahon is right now. Of 20 plus home runs, but he's not going to get over 30. He's going to be at least worth probably 1.8 wins above replacement. Solid defense, lots of strikeouts. And if the Zips projections are a little bit kinder to him, where they have him being between 2.6 and 2.8 wins above replacement, but everything else is pretty in line with his career numbers. And I think again that shows Ryan McMahon, now entering his age 30 season, is a known quantity. And it's tough because we sort of battled back against some of the projections for Ezekiel Tovar and Britton Doyle. But honestly, I feel like you can't really do that for Rymack at this point, because every year we've been going, this needs to be the year that he breaks out, and it doesn't happen. And we thought we were finally getting that last year, where his first month and a half of the season was excellent, truly, truly excellent. He was very good. But then, especially in the second half of the season, he really wasn't.
Yeah, came back to earth. And no, this is something that we've all accepted of this is who Ryan McMahon is. We're not going to sit around and still wait. That breakout's coming. That 30, he can hit 30 home runs. We expect that. We've given up on that. He's been around since 2017. He's been around for almost 10 years. So he's been around for quite a few seasons, Evan. Never got his highest is 24 home runs. His average is going to sit in the 240s, and he's going to strike out quite a bit.
Yeah.
Now, he improved on some things in 2024, most definitely, but he still fell back into old habits.
I would actually say that we have more cause for concern after his second half than we normally do, because after the All-Star break, it wasn't just that he fell back to earth. He created a sizable crater when he did. Ryan McMahon, in the final 58 games of the season, had an OPS of just 592. His batting average was 188. His on-base percentage 283, and his slugging was 309. He hit 6 home runs, had only 20 ribbies, and struck out 70 times. That's rough. That was not a good second half. And we're used to him kind of coming down to earth, but if he can't at the very least start hot in 2025, I think looking at how he ended the season, it's legitimately a little concerning.
Yeah.
Because we can't have a starting third baseman who's hitting like that for the majority of the season. And I love Rymack very dearly, but I don't think anyone is kidding themselves by saying that he was the Rockies all-star because there really wasn't another choice at that point.
Yeah, in the first half of the season. He had a good year, 14 homers, 270 average. But you could have argued for a Brenton Doyle or Ezekiel Tovar or somebody else. But instead they go with him because he's the notable name that was having some success.
Yeah, especially when he is batting, in your cleanup spot, or he's either hitting third or fourth most of the time in the Rockies lineup as set by Bud Black. And if he can't at least be in his career averages in that spot, the Rockies have a real problem on their hands, because his defense is spectacular. I don't think anybody expects his defense to take a step back. It's just been continuously very good for pretty much the whole time. Great. But you can't have him be an offensive black hole as a trade-off for that defense.
You need him to be a contributor for more than 2 months of the season. 2.5 months. He has to put together a complete season. And in his career, he has not done that.
Yeah.
It's been a hot first couple of months, and then maybe halfway through June, the power disappears, the strikeouts tick up, and then he just becomes nothing in the lineup.
Yeah. One of his worst months, if you look at his career splits, is August.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're in the home stretch like that of the season, if you're aiming to be competitive at any point, you can't just disappear. And his September and October numbers are pretty dismal too.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. It really is, because like back in the day, it really felt like Ryan McMahon had the potential to be this like ultimate Rockies power hitter kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it just has never really happened.
Yeah, and look, Evan, the Baseball Reference has some projections up now. Adding on to Ryan McMahon, they have him at 19 home runs, 241 average, a pretty much same in line with those Fangraph ones. But we've heard for years of his power potential, and now it's just 20 home runs seems like pretty much the average for him. Like that's top of the line. That's pretty much what you're going to get out of him. 20, 21 home runs. That 24 home run campaign, it seems more like an anomaly.
Yeah, and it's tough because we wanted him to be that 30-plus guy, because when was the last time the Rockies had somebody hit 30 or more home runs?
Not since Nolan Arenado. Wait. Yeah,
no,
Arenado.
It was Arenado in 20. Excuse me. It was the last time we had a 30 home run hitter. Was the last time we had multiple 30 home run hitters. It was 2019.
Yeah.
And it was Nolan Arenado, Trevor Story, and Charlie Blackmon.
Mm-hmm. Crony came close.
He was close, but he struggled towards the end of it.
Just couldn't get those last one or two on a couple of those seasons. Yeah, so a guy who's got that immense power potential, and like when he wallops a ball, Evan, those suckers stay walloped.
Yeah.
Whacks him out of the ballpark. I think that's what was frustrating about last season, because in those first couple of months, it was the best Ryan McMahon's ever looked. He had made adjustments at the plate with his swing. I wrote about it, analyzing it. He was looking better. He was more patient, was taking better at bats and better swings. But then at just some point, he stopped doing those things, or like improved his 2-strike approach. So there were inklings of improvement, but overall, it didn't move the needle either which way. It just shuffled things around, and it was still the same old production.
Yeah.
So it felt like what did the mechanics do? What did the changes do? Absolutely nothing, is what it felt like.
Yeah. And like I said, it's a bummer, because we needed or we wanted or needed, whichever way you want to say it, Ryan McMahon to be a star for this team. And I think it's pretty set in stone right now. His player profile is, he's not a bad player. And because of his defense, he's at least going to be, for as long as he can keep that up, an above replacement level player.
Mm-hmm.
But he was not the star the Rockies needed him to be.
Yeah.
And at age 30, that potential is really not there anymore.
Yeah. And then it brings into question like other guys, because this is a season 2. I think those projections of how many games he plays, does that feed more into what the Rockies are planning to do of hoping to rest him or other guys more, so then a Kyle Farmer can play third base more, or somebody else can fill in at third base for him?
I don't know. That's the problem. And like, if I would love to be proven wrong, but I just don't foresee anything special from Ryan McMahon this year. And it stinks to say that, but I think we're at the point where we can no longer say, oh, this is going to be the year that he needs to break out, or that he's going to break out, because I just don't think that's going to happen anymore. I don't think he's going to be, if the Rockies have an all-star, I don't think it's going to be him.
Yeah. I think for me, the expectations is, like we were mentioned before, to put together a full season, is have a better second half. Avoid the drop-off offensively. Keep doing the things you were doing the first half of last season. Take those good things and keep applying them. Because, yeah, I think he could be close to a 300 hitter. Like, he certainly has that potential with an average and everything, and that would improve across the board. But we're not going to hold our breath for it. But my expectation is figure out how to put together that second half. Because if he has a much better second half, we're having maybe a different conversation here. But it's been the same thing for several years now with him in a major starting role. Starts off strong, has a good month or two, and then falls off or starts to fall off. And then his last couple months are just a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah. We're not asking for a breakout. We're not asking for the greatest campaign ever. It's consistency is the expectation for Ryan McMahon.
Right.
And if he can't be consistent in any other organization, there'd be guys queuing up for his job.
Yeah.
And the Rockies have some third base prospects.
Yeah. Who they refuse to play third base because they want him to be an outfielder for some reason.
We got Kyle Karros, though.
Yeah.
Northwest League MVP Kyle Karros.
Yeah. So I think that's the thing, is the clock's a ticking. And, I do 2 birds with 1 stone. You get out from under his contract a little bit. If some of these other guys start performing offensively, don't feel married to Ryan McMahon. As much as we like him and he is a leader in that clubhouse, he's now the only member, or one of the only position player from the last playoff team in 2018, his second year in the big leagues. The clock's a ticking. He feels like a Kyle Seager to me in a way, like with the Mariners. Just kind of there at third base. Not terrible, not super great. Like a good player, but just not moving the needle much.
Yeah. And
so,
that's one of those things, like Siegs was beloved by Mariners fans.
Yeah.
Great clubhouse presence, leader, but there you have it. It's like,
yeah.
I don't know what else more we can say on the matter. And again, when we're very harshly critical, I think, of a player, like, this is nothing against Ryan McMahon personally. Like, he's a delight from everything that I've heard, but you also have to have realistic expectations of players on a professional sports team.
Yeah. Realize this is it's a professional sports team, and we know what the goals are. You can be as loyal to guys as you need to be, but you also have to understand the interest of the team. At some point, you have to move on or take a chance. And if somebody comes a calling, like they have before, asking for him in a trade, have those conversations with him. Like, we want to trade you, because he's not benefiting from Colorado, and Colorado's not necessarily benefiting from him. As much as they like each other, maybe better if they see other people.
Yeah, just be respectful about it. Like, you can't repeat the mistakes of the past with, like, Ubaldo and Tulo and all of that stuff. But you can say, I think honestly, honesty is always the best policy. To sit down and say, Ryan, we love you and we respect everything you've done for this organization, but I think it would be better if we saw other people.
It's not you, it's us. But yeah, we expect this, hopefully much more of this, maybe a little better than more of the same for Ryan McMahon, but find some consistency.
Yeah. None of the crazy cold streaks.
Stop being hot, then you're cold. You're yes, then you're no. But that'll do it here for this player projection with Ryan McMahon. We have a fun one, a notable one probably for next week. The guy is somewhere in the lineup. But first, let's call him on the phone.
Oh, geez, again with this. All right. Yeah. Hello.
Hey, Chris, Chris Bryan, how you doing?
We're trucking along. Spring training in a month.
Oh yeah, you excited to come down to Arizona?
Oh yeah, it's pretty close to where I live in Las Vegas. So
you signed with us because you live in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah, that's why. That's definitely why. And not that you were willing to give me millions upon millions of dollars more than any other organization.
Yep, sure thing. Hey, how's your back doing?
It's fine. I made peace with it.
What does that mean?
We'll see in a month.
No, Chris, don't.
It's getting harder to do these bits because we haven't had any updates from Chris Bryan.
No, it's the same bit. I've made peace with it. What does that mean? Okay. Well, that'll do it here for this episode. Evan, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky at evanlang27.bsky.social. You can also hit me up over on the www.purplerow.com, writing the Monday Rock Piles, the occasional Pebble Reports, which again will go back to being weekly once the minor league season starts, and you'll get them more often once spring training starts as well. But going to be one coming out this week discussing our international free agents for this year, and that's going to be pretty fun, I hope. And then you can always find Affected by Altitude and other Rocky Mountain Rooftop shows on your favorite podcasting platform of choice, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and you can always catch the video versions on youtube.com. You can find Rocky Mountain Rooftop on pretty much all social media platforms with the same handle, and this includes YouTube at Rocky Mountain Rooftop. That's at ROCKYMTN Rooftop. And Skyler, where can they find you at?
I'm over on Twitter at silent_crowd. Who knows? Maybe that'll change. We'll see. But find me over on Blue Sky as well. stimmons13.bsky.social. That's TIMMINS. And also go check out a recent new episode of Every Rocky Ever. We talked about Matt Holliday and Carlos Gonzalez. Good stuff. Also, Wednesday Rock Piles of Purple Row and fansfirstsports.com writing stuff occasionally. Good stuff. But until next time, I'm Skyler. That's Evan. My voice is dying from all the broadcasting. Farewell! This has been Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast with Rocky Mountain Rooftop, a proud affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. Catch new episodes every Monday on wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Be sure to follow us on YouTube as well for video versions of the show.